Yeah, he liked that that was a really cool conversation.
Dude, you got to be your own hype man first.
Oh, you got to gas yourself up.
Yeah, but you got to figure out the right balance because you don't want to come off as completely egotistical or just a big narcissist, but everyone has narcissism in them.
You know what I've been doing recently again, which I try to get away from?
Touching my elbow, bro. What are you doing over there? You're bothering me.
You just look handsome.
Jesus Christ.
What I've been doing lately that I don't know, it's interesting. It's like therapeutic, but like I'll be like having conversations with people, and I've talked to this about myself. Like I'm like once I get on something and I lock in on it, I'm like obsessive, like to the point where it's dangerous. Like I put my blinders on and like nothing else matters, and. So I've been working this deal recently with shout out Shady Rays. You guys rock. I want you guys on our show, Chris, and I also want to be sponsored by you guys. But I've been working with them, and I'm telling my contact, I'm like, I know I'm a lot to deal with, but I just want to see this be successful. And they're like, yeah, you are a lot, but like we love it. Like if there's one person we trust with that, and it's funny because. So I went through this phase where I was like self-conscious about myself. Meaning I was worried that I was coming off too strong or being too obsessive or this or that. And then I realized like that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Some people are going to like it, some people aren't.
Right.
There's a song called I'm Not For Everyone, my brother's Osborne, and that song like totally like just clicked with me because I am not for everyone and I don't need to be. And so I'm now at the point where like I'm just going to be myself, and but I understand that it's a lot. So like I'll say, "Hey, I know I'm overdoing it here, but that's just how I roll, and take it with a grain of salt and understand that I get it too, and I understand that I can be a lot." Like we're both on the same page here, but I'm not going to stop. Like I'm not going to change who I am. I just recognize that can be a lot sometimes. It's been a totally different mindset shift.
I love that message, Cole. I think that just comes along with maturity, and that's something that I've been recognizing myself as well. Is like you can't please everyone. You've been told that growing up, or I've been told that growing up, and it's like, yeah, sure. And as human beings, you want to be friendly towards everyone, and you want everyone to like you, but there's always going to be those people out there that don't like you for whatever reason. And a quote that I've recently stumbled upon, and I'm going to probably botch this, but it said something like, those that are doing less than you will find ways to critique you. Those that are doing more than you won't. Like they'll
busy.
Yeah, well, they're busy, and they also recognize that you're putting in the time and effort. So anyone that's giving you criticism that doesn't have any skin in the game, like who cares, right?
There was I'm gonna read this quote too because I love that quote, and I want to shout out to the Brutal Truth Sales Podcast.
Yes,
those guys post some unbelievable content. Like they create great content, but some of their quotes I've never heard before. So I recently just commented on one of their things on LinkedIn. I said, the quote says, "Stop trying to be liked by everybody. You don't even like everybody." You think about that, right?
Yeah.
Like that. You stop if you're worried about being liked by everybody. But the thing is like pot calling the kettle black. If you don't like everybody, you shouldn't worry about everybody else liking you.
Yep.
And so I was like, I just commented and said, like, that was such an interesting way of putting it, like, super weird. I said, it's weird. It's a weird quote, but I've never thought of it that way. And they responded back right away to me.
Dude, those guys or girls, whoever runs that podcast, they're awesome. We want you on. I know Cole and I have both reached out to you guys on separate occasions. It's going to happen, but keep up the awesome content out there. Good stuff.
And the interestingly, like, deep quotes that you guys put on there.
Totally.
Anyway. I'll you want to open us up today? Because I've opened up the past
I've been missing it. So, guys, girls, welcome back to another episode of Unscripted Exchanges. We are excited to have you tune on into another awesome episode. As you can see here, if you're watching the video feed, we have some additional enhancements. We're always trying to get better around here. Jimmy is stepping his game up. I guess it's all the criticism Cole's been giving him offline.
I've been laying into Jimmy, laying in, lighting him up.
But anyways, we got Cole again. I know, again, he's with me. I can't ditch him.
Get rid of
I
me.
guess he's pretty damn good at what he does. So we're here again to share some awesome conversations. If you don't like it, skip to the next episode or jump back to a previous conversation. We're continuing to crank out some good content, though.
So I just thought I had another like random rainbow thought. I don't know why I called it a rainbow
Squirrel!
thought. I was thinking of a rainbow when I said that. I had this other thought that I was talking the other day. I was like thinking about what I've got going on this week, and the quote, "Eat the frog" in the morning came to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been eating the frog this week, and it's felt so good. It has been so great to wake up in the morning and start off my day with whatever that's the most challenging. Like, whatever is something that's challenging that I don't want to do, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get it out of the way now and eat the frog. And so I felt really good about that this week.
Heck yeah. I think that's a really important philosophy for everyone to understand. And it's not for everyone. And I'm not going to say that I do it all the time as well. I kind of switch it up from time to time. But again, for those that might not be familiar, eating the frog is taking on the to-do item that is probably the most challenging or the most top of mind or important, and starting that in the early part of your day versus, I'll wait until later on, or I'll wait until tomorrow. So not being a procrastinator and waiting towards the last minute. So totally recognize that that's important to incorporate into your life. Maybe not every single day, but yeah, it sounds like it's benefiting you this week.
Well, I'd just say that it's if you think about the way our minds work, by the end of the day, we're kind of worn out, right? If we've been working hard, like by the end of the day, we're kind of winding down.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. That if I start off the day, it's usually with something I don't want to do. Like my eating the frog is not necessarily the most challenging, the hardest, but it's something that I've been putting off, or I would rather put off, because it's just like my brain works so weird. Like there's some things that are super easy or just simple to do that I'll keep putting off because I don't want to do it instead of just doing it. So that's been good for me, and just clearing the way for a great day.
When you mention that your brain works so weird, would you say that weird has a negative connotation, or how would you describe?
Positive.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think my brain, like, I don't even understand the way my brain operates sometimes, but there's things that we all go through this. There's things that are super easy or even challenging that we'll just be like, oh, like that's no problem. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do it. And there's other things that are, again, either super easy, super challenging, I don't know, that we have this like mental block with. Mm-hmm. And I still don't understand really why I have a mental block with some of those things and why other things like come so easy to me. As far as like just saying, oh, I got to do it, right? So I meant weird in a good way. My brain is super all over the place sometimes.
No, I wanted to interrupt you as you were mentioning that if you did have like a negative connotation, like I don't know if I would describe it as weird, but at the same time, weird's fine to describe it. Like I think we both have very unique brains and how we go about our day-to-day lives, and we complement one another too here on the show. So yeah, just another random thought.
You ever heard the saying like, you play to the beat of your own drum or dance to the beat of your own drum?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard something like it.
I like that. I like that saying a lot.
Yeah,
I didn't have more to say other than I like that.
Hey, we're filled with a whole bunch of cliche sayings here on the show, and there's nothing wrong with that. Who
cares?
Yeah, we're gonna get some of these made up on some T-shirts. And speaking of that, we're still working out some vendors and the right materials that we want to work with, but that should be here hopefully by midsummer.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw a curveball at you right now.
Do it, dude. And I played baseball growing up. I can hit a curveball.
Listeners, you guys, Hayden used to throw the sickest knuckleball ever in like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade.
Dude, we're really all over the place now. Yeah, I do. Of course.
Like you were the only one that could throw a knuckleball.
Yeah, I could.
I just thought of that. You just said something about playing baseball or something, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That's
I just remember the Hayden knuckleball.
People are going to be like, yeah, who cares, buddy?
Haiti Pops knuckle.
So throw this curveball at me.
Okay,
then.
so the curveball is, I was thinking about this as it's affecting, like, I was talking with some people over the weekend about just different like issues with supply chain and gas prices right now.
Okay.
And the way, like, how do we combat that? And I think it's pretty interesting, like, start looking at all of the different things that are affected by our supply chain issues right now, and how that's affecting our gas prices. So it's kind of like right now you're having issue getting things in, and when you're getting things in, then you're having issues getting trucks to drive them places because gas prices are so high. And so I guess my brain is just thinking, like, how do we solve that issue? Like,
you mean the issues with supply chain
Yeah.
and like inflation and such? I mean, that is a curveball there, Cole. I don't think there's one simple answer to that. Just some thoughts that immediately come to mind is, one, we should think about bringing more jobs back to the States and not being reliant on other countries, companies. I think that's super important right there, because anytime you rely on someone else, like, you kind of use them as a crutch.
Right.
I know I'm kind of going into an analogy there, but I think that's one thing. We rely too heavily on certain countries for certain things, especially when you think about gas, right? Now, I know that's debatable, but that comes to mind. At the same time, I think when you talk about there being maybe bottlenecks with transporting goods throughout the United States, and thinking of the truck drivers, maybe we need to be a little bit more lenient on some of the guidelines out there as well, because maybe that deters people from wanting to taking on that responsibility or that type of job.
Right.
Again, I'm not gonna have the right answer, and what I kind of just shared there is just skimming the surface and more so an opinion. I do think that there's a lot of avenues that we could look into. I don't see things getting better right away, but I think that over the next hopefully 12 to 18 months, we'll start to see the pendulum swing back towards the direction that we'd all like it to be, in terms of lower gas prices, finding everyday household items at the grocery store, things like that. But it's not going to happen overnight.
Well, again, it was an interesting topic, and we got into, like, the formula shortage too.
Yeah,
and
right.
Like, that's scary. I mean, we're lucky that Blake's breastfed, but, like, there's babies out there that parents can't get formula, and they can't feed their kids.
I think you just wanted to see me sweat a little bit and try to talk a little bit of politics, but we're not really talking politics here.
No.
What is your take on that? What is the Cole Hazenfield solution to that problem?
Well, I don't know if there's there's one solution to it, but I just know that.
So we agree on that. There's not just one solution to the problem.
No, I just worry that, like, inflation right now, and we kind of created our own mess by dumping a bunch of money into the economy during COVID. I think a lot of it's part of that.
That's the other thing I meant to share. We shouldn't be printing money.
No, we're literally like, I mean, that's what's happened when you've got, supply of the amount of physical dollar bills and money that's out there goes up, right? The value of the dollar is going to go down. So, I mean, my worry is that, we're putting money into a lot of areas that, or pumping a lot of money into the economy, and we've done that over the past 2.5, 3 years during COVID, and we kind of created our own mess. But the question is, like, what was the better solution? Like, I'm not sitting here getting paid to figure that out, nor do I think I could be the only one to figure that out. But I do think there were, this might be a hot take, but I do think, and I'm not getting political, I do think that we created a lot of our own problems by continuing to dump money. I'm all about forgiveness of federal student loans, but that money's never coming back, and that money was borrowed. So where is the federal government getting that money now? They're just going and printing more and paying themselves back,
Right.
which is just making the inflation worse.
Yeah.
And I think we're just starting to see that. I think the inflation is the kind of the all the money we pumped in and stuff is kind of what set off the things into motion. Obviously, there's a lot of like world factors going in with different ties with China and Russia and the war in Ukraine, stuff like that. But I think it's kind of a trickle down effect, and I think that's coming out of COVID. Now that the economy is trying to boom, I think that's where we've hit a little bit of a road bump or speed bump.
Yeah, I'm going to take this conversation slightly down a different road here. When you talk about, problems with the economy or everything that's been going on, would you say that, and maybe instead of asking you the question, I'm going to state it with a statement. I think more times than not, the problems that every human being faces are problems that we control or we cause ourselves. And
I know where you're taking it. Yeah, keep going.
No. I mean, that's pretty much all that I had to say there is like we typically like to blame, outside or external circumstances for what might be going on in our lives. But one, it's how you respond to certain situations if you can't truly control them. But I would like to say that I think a lot of the problems that truly impact each and every one of us are problems that we create ourselves, and we can, find the right solutions, and only you know what the right solutions are.
Cause and effect.
Yep.
Yeah, we're the cause of a lot of our own problems. 100%. 100%. And then we sit there and we want to point fingers at all these different things.
Well, it's so easy to, right? It's like, that's not, it's not my fault that this happened this way. It's like, well, maybe it is. Maybe you need to be a little bit more self-aware.
Well, we've all met those people that do that.
And we're not up here saying that we don't do that ourselves or haven't done it ourselves.
I've never done it.
So we, again, don't want to come off as virtue signaling, but again, just trying to be more self-aware and recognizing that we have the power to respond in the right situations, or we control our destiny and handling our own shit and our problems that are happening in our everyday life instead of blaming it on other people.
I like how you spun that into like a good lesson. That was good. That was smooth.
I'm working on my storytelling over here.
That was smooth. You know what also has been on my mind? I'm all over the place, but this is our podcast, so I can be that way. You know what's been on my mind is our conversation with Hari. That conversation...
Shout out to Hari, by the way. Heck of a conversation. If you guys haven't heard of the episode or the conversation that we had, tune back into, what was it, episode 43?
43.
Yeah, it's about zoo technology and a company that Hari started. It's called Zoptic, so check it on out. You
know what? His whole story was cool, but a lot of the lessons that you can pull out of, or lessons or just value you can pull out of that conversation. It reminded me of something I try to live by is try to take one thing valuable out of a conversation, but I took 4 or 5 different things out of it.
Yeah.
And one of the things was perseverance. I love the word perseverance. I love the meaning behind it. I love the attitude you have to persevere. I love the situations where you have to be put in, that you have to push through and persevere. I love everything about that word. And I felt like his story reminded me of how important that word is, because it pertains to different things in life that you're going through that you need to push through and get out the other side. And I feel like we all struggle with that in life, is when do we give up? When do we persevere? And when do we stop? When do we quit? When do we hang up the towel? And that is such a loaded thing in life, because there's a lot of things in life we do where if it's good for us and we keep pushing at it, we get in our heads is this ever going to go anywhere? Right. And it's called perseverance when you push through it. I mean, I just think that's one of the things I pulled out of that was just super neat, and it's made me think about a lot of things recently. Yeah, no, I think, as you mentioned, there were a lot of key takeaways in that conversation, and as you mentioned, perseverance was a huge theme in hearing Hari share his story. I think a lot of people like to see the results
over buying into the journey and enjoying the journey when there's, shitty days or just not so great days versus always highlighting your wins. Because if you can buy into, all right, whatever the heck I'm going to go out and do, I'm going to love the journey or the process. If you can have that type of mindset versus, oh, I just can't wait to get to the final destination, then you're going to be more likely to persevere versus the person that, again, is, oh, I just want to reach the finish line. It's like all you care about is those results. And the results will most likely come for those that persevere through the tough times, but you have to be willing to head down that tough journey, that we've talked about it time and time again. There's going to be some days that suck, but you have to get your head in the right mindset of recognizing that this is temporary, this will pass. How do I figure out a way past this? And sometimes your back's against the wall and you got to figure out, what that means to you. And each situation is different for every person. So just adding that in.
Even to add to that, if you think about, taking that story, but if you looked at like a lot of entrepreneurs, business people, regular people, all facets. If you were to break down, like they set a goal, right? Here's my goal. Here's my vision. Mm-hmm. And you were going to ask them like, okay, when did you start? Let's say it was 3 years ago is when I set this goal.
Yeah.
And you ask them, how did they think they were going to get there when they started versus how they got there when they got there? I would bet most people went like this. They at first they started off going this way, and then they realized that they actually needed to kind of get over this way, and they realized they needed to take a left turn at this mile marker, and then they went, and that's what makes life so cool, and that's what makes life so interesting, and that to me that is what I take even with unscripted exchanges. That's what excites me, is that I know and can accept that things are going to change. We're going to have to adapt and be flexible. And that's a part of life we have to go through. There's things that we want, and you can make a perfect 5-year plan and a 10-year plan and all this stuff.
And if you do make those, crumble it up and throw it away.
You can have a goal.
Sure.
But if you think that everything's going to go just like this and stack on top of you, you're going to be constantly let down.
Or if you do end up, sorry to jump in, but if you do hit those milestones or those goals, then you're most likely not pushing yourself. Those must be pretty cupcake-like goals, because any type of goal that's worth achieving, in my mind, there's going to be setbacks. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take months, years, maybe even decades to get there.
I've had a couple of those in my life where I have been brought to tears, literally like with so much emotion that I've gotten to this point because of the setbacks that I've dealt with. And those are the ones that feel so sweet. So sweet. Literally, I've one of the things that's, again, I think I've said this on here before, Hayden. I've probably mentioned this to you. When I achieve my goal, like let's say this goal is to buy this house or buy this car or close this deal or land this brand deal. What I realized when I get that is the satisfaction that I have there is not near as satisfying as the struggle of when I pushed through. Like getting to that point and getting that and hitting that goal feels great. It's emotional. But I realized that it's all due to the fact that my journey was tough. Like I had to push through things. I had to hear no. I had to fail. I had to deal with this or that. And I had to make myself keep going. And I think that's like a huge part of our lives, is that journey is just so unbelievable. And that's what inspired me about Hari and inspires me about you and a lot of people I've met, is that seeing the adaptability and the flexibility and the perseverance to keep going, even when, if you were to put it on paper and do a stat line, like it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to persevere, right? They want the easy route. I mean, as human beings, we're wired to be lazy. We want the easiest solution. We don't want to have to deal with all the shit that comes with persevering and going out and achieving that ultimate success or that goal that we want. It's not easy, but having that mindset is what differentiates, person A from person B. I know I'm simplifying this, but I think it's extremely important for those that are highly motivated and they are trying to take that next step in their lives, whether it's their professional lives or just personal hobbies. It's like you need to recognize that it's a journey. And as you mentioned, like everyone has their own unique story and journey. And it's important to recognize that you are the author of your story. I know, again, that's another cliche saying. The one thing that I will add to that, though, is recognizing although you are the author of your story, you do need to recognize that there are times when you are writing with a permanent marker, and then there are times when you are writing with a pencil. And I'll let you think on that and what that means. But again, something worth taking into consideration as you head down your journey or your path.
Well, I just love that. I think a lot of the journey, man, is like, that's why it's called a journey, because it's going to take a while, right? I mean, that's what life's about. So no, I just I took a lot out of that. I think at the end of the day, the rewards you get from pushing through it makes things a lot more satisfying at the end of the day. I also had this, I feel like we all deal with this, our listeners, you and I, is that it is just like a habit, just like let's say it's smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol or biting your fingernails or something like that, right? I probably come up with a million different habits.
Is that what happened to that finger, by the way?
No, I cut myself when I was doing lawn work. Yeah, you like my Band-Aids? They're pretty.
I can't really tell. What is it, blue? Has it got cartoons?
It's like a blue peep. I don't know, like peep Band-Aid. You know what peeps are? Like that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm good at getting you off topic, man.
Well, I was going to say is that there are these habits we have in life that we ought to be self-aware of, because it is the easiest thing in the world to choose the path of least resistance.
Yep.
You could do, and this is part of also like prioritizing, but you put like so much energy in these two things, and then this one you just half-ass it, or you give it 25% of your effort.
Yep.
Or you say, that would take too much time to sit down on my computer and send that email, so I'm just not going to do it. I think there's a lot of balance in that too, and I would suggest our listeners take a look at their lives and say, where am I putting too little effort in? Where am I wanting to achieve something but not willing to flip that switch? And I think a lot of that's fear too. If we pour ourselves into something like that we're maybe uncomfortable with or haven't done before, or puts us out in a limb that we're not used to, are we going to fail at that? Is it going to go wrong? And I don't even know if we all like totally think that out, but I think that it's something worth all of us taking a look at, and me included.
Yeah. I think what I'm hearing you say is, how do I take stock, or how do I reflect on my daily habits and point out or understand, okay, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And let me give an example. Maybe I'm watching 2 or 3 hours of Netflix or YouTube at night, and I want to be a marathon runner, or I want to start a business. Well, those things aren't going to come true if you're continuing to do the things that you're doing. And again, I go back to this example of watching, a couple of hours of media, whatever it might be. If it's YouTube, Netflix, so be it. You need to recognize, okay, I'm spending time there. How about I carve out some time to focus on that business plan or that venture that I want to start up? Or instead of doing, watching TV, I'm going to spend an hour exercising or committing to my health. And you take baby steps. It's not like it's going to happen overnight, as we say. Start with 15 minutes, and then week 2, bump that up to 30 minutes, and so on and so forth. Document how you're spending your time. And something that I've recently been trying to shift my mindset to, and I've shared this with you, Cole, offline, is the no bullshit, what would it take paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, and again, this is very similar to what I just mentioned here, cut through the fat, the bullshit. What would it take to achieve the desire, the dream that I want? And again, an example that I use is, how do I become a marathon runner? Well, to me, that means I have to put in X number of hours per week running. So if I need to do that, I need to make sure that I'm not spending time sitting in front of the TV. However, I don't want people to think that, oh, this guy doesn't do any of that. I still do, but recognizing that there is a certain time for that and there's only a small time for that too. So you got to figure out, what is your strategy? How am I allocating my time? You got to be very disciplined and recognizing, how do I want to put my energy out into the world to achieve my goals? And again, this is something that takes time, and it's going to be something that's continual, and you have to keep building that muscle. It's practice. Just because you might be big and strong doesn't mean you're always going to be big and strong, or just because maybe you're weak and small doesn't mean you're always going to be weak and small. Like, you have to keep working at it, and that's the power of practice and the power of perseverance, as we've been highlighting.
Just love that word. I love everything you just said. And it just gets me jacked up, gets me fired up. Who doesn't like that feeling of doing something you just hate, or just tough, or just miserable, and you just get through it? Like, that's just so, that's just the best feeling in the world, I think.
Yeah, I think there's some science to that too. I don't know the chemicals that get released in the mind, but definitely probably some type of dopamine when you do persevere, and there's much more meaning and purpose in your life when you were able to accomplish a goal that didn't happen just overnight. Because we all want that instant gratification, and that is a problem with, social media and the internet, and we've talked about it on previous episodes, where we want to keep scrolling, and, when we post something out there online, we want to see everyone like our content, and we keep going back to that. I know I'm deviating myself there, but yeah, just some thoughts that we're having. Two dudes on a yellow couch here today.
Two dudes on a mustard colored couch.
Dude, one other thing that I've been reflecting on is just, I think you've probably seen it. I've stepped my game up. I think so. I mean, I'm tooting my own horn over here, but
Jimmy, what do you think?
my energy levels are definitely at a much better level today than they were a week ago, and even like a month ago. So I think that having a better mindset, and again, it starts with the mind, but there's other attributes or things that I'm doing that definitely play a role in this. As you said earlier, cause and correlation, things like that. But I'm also starting to see like other opportunities open up in front of my eyes, which is great. And like some people might call it luck. I don't think it's necessarily luck. Maybe there's a small amount of luck, but again, it all has to do with the energy that you want to put out into the world, and people are attracted to that energy as well. And I'm starting to really understand that saying. Like I've heard it, but like I have the right mindset. I have the right attitude. I'm putting out good energy into the world, and I'm starting to see people recognize that and want to be a part of the journey that I'm trying to create. I know I just tooted my own horn, but I thought it was worth sharing.
And I like that. I think you are realizing that, and I think it might be part of how you're outwardly acting, but I think it's also mental clarity for you too, because you always are pretty consistently energetic. I mean, you say you're not, but you're pretty with it. You're pretty focused and positive. I believe that you've taken a step for your mental health that's helping you see that, and it's making you feel better. I think that's what it is.
Okay,
because I'm seeing it. I'm totally seeing it, and I think, at the end of the day, the energy you've hit me with. We had the dial pretty close to 100. And now you've like turned it 6 times and probably broken it. And I'm like getting these texts at 10:30 at night. I'm like, I'm an old man. Okay, I'm in bed already.
Dude, don't undersell yourself. I mean, you've got your energy turned up to about 199% of the time. And as I've said time and time again, how do I try to match your energy? And I'm not always going to match your energy.
Dude, we gas each other up.
I know, man. That's why we just do big things together. Man, you just broke my knuckle there.
Dude, I've been working out.
But no, I want people to be like, damn, these guys are doing all sorts of things. How the heck do I do that? And I know that's going to come off as maybe narcissistic, but I want it to come off as like we're trying to inspire and motivate people to go out and chase their dreams, whatever the hell that might be. Like, how the hell are Hayden and Cole able to do what they do? You know, they've got a podcast, they've got multiple ventures, they're creating value. And that's the other thing that I wanted to dive into when we were talking about conversation with Hari on the previous episode, is he brought up a really important message about providing value. If you can center your whole life on the value that you can provide for not only, you know, yourself, I think it's all right to be selfish at times, and people need to understand that. But again, looking beyond that, how can you provide value for other people? In the moment, you can recognize that and figure out, okay, how do I provide value for my friends and my family or this business, and how I'm going to create a better world? Like, that's extremely powerful. And there's going to be a lot of positive momentum that comes your way. And recognizing that earlier on is only going to be more beneficial to your self-growth and overall success.
1000%.
Dude, I'm operating on another level, man. I think I found some cheat codes with some of those supplements that I've been taking.
I think you're just on a high because you bought some more TVs.
Nah, dog, nah. Cole's giving me shit. I bought a couple more TVs. Let us know in the comments if I have a strange addiction to TVs.
He's gonna be on that TV show, My Strange Addiction. It's like, hey, we got an intervention. All your family, like, you buy too many TVs.
Maybe we should give away TVs on the show.
Yeah, sure. We got two new ones right here.
We got two new ones. Dude, those are going to be for us for editing. Okay, enough of this.
I was just going to add to the value aspect of it, that concept is very much, from what I hear you saying, centered around, like, where can I impact others? And that's what we're trying to do here. And that's what I think you were getting across is, how can we motivate others? Like, and we got to practice what we preach too. If we're talking about it, like, I feel guilty when I say shit on here, and I'm not pushing myself. I'm like, if I'm gonna wake up and be in a sourpuss attitude and I can't turn my mindset around, I sure as hell better not be telling other people to do the same.
Can I say something real quick though? Yeah. As I hear that, I think that's so insightful, though, to hear that coming from you, because you're recognizing that you want to make an impact not only in the lives of others, but yourself. And it starts with you and recognizing, okay, maybe I am being a little bit of a hypocrite. And I think that's extremely important to recognize. And it takes a strong person to do that versus just going out there and saying shit, but not actually practicing it. And just to wrap this up and give it back to you, it's a lot better to see things be well done versus well said. So
well, that's just part of, like, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I also want to stand behind what I say. And a lot of what we talk about on here is a lot of stuff we practice and we're not always perfect at, but these are things that, you know, we've learned over the course of, you know, ups and downs, rights and lefts, you know, highs and lows, and I think I said high and low, up and down is the same thing, but I said it 3 different ways. I was just kind of rolling with it. But I do believe that impacting others, for me, is a big factor of it. And impacting others doesn't necessarily mean strangers. It means family, friends, coworkers, you know, people I know. How can I create value in their lives and impact them? And I think it's kind of a trickle-down effect, and it all flows together. I mean, part of Unscripted Exchanges was built upon that. Like, how do we create value for ourselves in our own lives and then branch that out? Because this is great for us, too. This therapy session, this is great for us as human beings. And I hope it's impacting others as well.
Yeah, Cole and I just didn't have the funds to pay for a therapist, so it's us just talking to one another.
My HSA account went down to zero, so I had to start podcasting to build that back up.
Yeah, no, I love everything that you have to share there, Cole. I think, who we are today versus who we were starting out this venture, this podcast, we're completely different people. And it's so cool. Like, this is the person that I needed 5 years ago, but it's also cool that I'm where I am right now, but I am not settling, and the person I am now is not going to be the person that I am 5 years from now or even another 5 months from now. And again, that's another key theme that Hari had mentioned in our previous conversation. Shout out to Hari, just dropped so much wisdom. I know we keep going back to that episode, and we really want you guys to check out that episode there. But yeah, it's important to recognize your self-growth, your journey, your perseverance, where you are now and where you want to be. What do you say? We wrap things up. I know we've been shooting the shit for about 40 minutes or so, and we've said a lot of cliche sayings. I think we might have broken a record on this episode, and people might be tired of it.
Oh, well, you should have heard me last night riding. I went horseback riding, trail riding for the first time in like 10 years on a new horse.
You've lied to me. I thought you said you go horseback riding all the time.
I do, but
Ava.
I don't trail ride.
What's the difference between trail riding?
Well, like I'll ride in the arena a little bit with her. Or
you mean you go riding up your street? Is that what?
No, like over at the stable.
I'm trying to be funny.
I was like a cowboy. Okay.
Yeah.
Moral of the story is that I was saying some pretty cliche stuff during horseback. I'm like, let's wrestle up them steer, and she's like, Dad, there's no steer. I'm
Dad
like,
jokes, love them.
So many of them, dude. I'm like, I'm a cowboy. She's like, no, you're not. You're wearing a helmet. I'm like, okay.
Speaking of dad jokes, real quick, another random thought. I think it's an account called Doc Talk. It's like two dudes that sit on like a dock.
That's so funny.
It's so funny.
Yeah, they make the funniest jokes.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just funny because they're dad jokes, but like, they're hilarious.
They're awesome.
They're so funny. You guys got to come on.
You got to have a sense of humor to have fun and enjoy life, right?
Amen.
There's a time to be serious and a time to just enjoy it because life goes too quick. Look at that. Another cliche saying to wrap things up.
Life is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get.
That's right. You don't. You don't know if you're going to get something good, something bad, or something right in between. That's that country twang.
They got shrimp tacos. They got shrimp pie. What was his name? All right, sorry, I'm going.
And once again, we still do not know how to sign off, and we'll continue that way. But since I opened things up, Cole, I'm giving you the honors of signing off for us.
Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate the feedback, the engagement. We are having fun. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming your way. Hopefully, you're appreciating the content we're pushing, some of the engagement, some of the material we're trying to get out. We've got some guests coming. We've just got a million things going on, and we're going to keep rocking, keep rolling, and appreciate everybody listening to us. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.